Alright, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Here we are. We're going to do a full how-to video on the Robin Cap 10. It's a little aerobatic plane. So we're going to do a full startup here, a manual startup, and then we're going to taxi over, talk to ATC to taxi over to a runway to depart, and then we're going to also use ATC to for our departure, and then we're going to go over the climb procedures, level out procedures, descent procedures, and landing procedures, all on the way of talking to ATC. So we're going to get this thing into gate or parking number 51 over at the Halifax International Airport over in Nova Scotia, and we're going to be landing on runway 32 there after we do a little loop around. So we got a little short pre-flight plan here to demonstrate the capabilities of the Robin Cap 10. So we'll get this thing on the ground. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and we got a lot of stuff coming. We're going to try to do some demonstrations of different airplanes, as well as our NeoFly career, as well as our tour adventures that we put together. So seems like you guys are enjoying this content with all the new subs that we're getting and everything, and all the watch hours, so appreciate that on that front. So haven't flown this plane in a little while. It's once again Robin Cap 10, and we're gonna get this thing going here. So we're gonna turn off all this. Looks like we got a nice clear sky there. That's fine for now. So here's a little look at the interior of the plane here. No big navigation system, no G1000 or G3000, no nothing. So it's going to be a lot of manual flying here. So we may even do a lot of exterior flight here because no navigation to go by inside. So this is sort of like one of those fun planes. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the outside. And I'll point out one thing here. So when you got a low wheel here in the back, you're front heavy. So the back is a lot lighter than the front. So you got to be super careful when you're braking, or else that tail end will flip over on you. So hopefully that doesn't happen. If it does, it'll be a demonstration as to why the back of the plane is so much lighter than the front. So the whole engine sits up here. We're sitting up here. All the weight is in the front. So you got to be super gentle with the braking of this plane, both in taxi and when you're landing, or else again that tail end will flip over on you, and that will not be a good thing. So here we are. It's a nice little aerobatic plane. We can test our flaps here. It's the center ones. So we're at 0 flaps. Oh, we're not on, so it's not moving. Alright, so let's get this thing going here so we can demonstrate what the flaps are. Alright, so before taking off, we want to make sure that our parking brake is set. So parking brake is on. Master avionics, or our avionics master switch. Here we can turn that to on. We can turn on our master switch to on. And turn on our strobe lights. That's pitot heat. There's our strobe lights. So starting the engine, you got 2 throttles here. You got this and this one. Both work in tandem with each other. I just prefer this one. So if you prefer the left one, feel free to do so. But you want to set your throttle to full at this point. So either one, move it all the way back. And then this is your fuel mixture. You want to make sure that that is set to rich, which is 100%. And then you want to go down to your fuel selector and select that to forward, if I can get that to move. There we go. And then you got your electronic fuel pump. So that is going to be over here. No, that's the avionics master. We turned on our alternator, so we can turn off our alternator there. Fuel switch pump. We can turn that to the on position until the fuel selection maxes out, and then we can turn it off, and that basically primes the engine. Now we want to move our throttle down just a little bit and move our mixture to lean. So we're going to move that to about 86% there. And then we want to, our magnetos, or AKA our key, we want to turn that to the on or both position. And then we're ready to hit our start button, and that should get the propellers kicking off. So now that our propellers are on, we can adjust our RPMs, which are sit right here, to about 1,000, and check our oil pressure to make sure that that is good to go. So we are good to go with the oil pressure, and we can turn on all our lights that are as needed. So we can turn on those, our directionals are on, navigation lights are on now. We can put our landing lights on. Strobe lights were already on from before, and that is good to go. So now at this point we are ready to taxi to the runway. So we will go ahead and bring up ATC and we'll contact ground, and we will request departure to the south. Or no, well, first we need taxi to the south.
Route Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra with Whiskey request taxi for takeoff south departure.
Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra taxi 2 and hold short of runway tree 2 via taxiway Alpha 1 Delta cross runway 2 tree Kilo Mike. Contact tower on 118.4 when ready.
Alright, so they gave us runway 32.
Taxi 2 and hold short runway tree 2 using taxiway Alpha 1 Delta cross runway 2 tree Kilo Mike Robin X-Ray Golf Sierra.
And they gave us the taxi names to get there. So we're using A1 to D to cross runway 23 KM. So that's the KM is the name of the taxiways. So we are ready to go here. So we're going to release the brake, go to our exterior mode here, and grass is short. We're in an aerobatic plane, so we can go ahead and we are a little close up here. So there's our flaps all the way extended down at 40%. We can increase those to 0. And we'll start taking off here. We're going to use our rudder in the back tail to change direction here. And we want to apply very gentle braking. So we're going to reduce the throttle if we get too fast and just literally tap the brakes, not hard at all. You lay your foot on the brake, this thing is going to flip over on you. Alright, so we're on taxiway A now. And then we're going to be making a right up here to go to taxiway K. And we're going to cross over runway 23 right here. So this is taxiway K. And I just reduced the throttle a little bit to try to slow down naturally, because we're going to be making a little right turn up here, and then it's going to be a sharp left. and then we'll line up to runway 32. This is a fun little plane to fly. A lot of maneuverability in the air. The only drawback is that tail end is pretty light. Alright, we're going to increase the throttle a little bit to get up this hill. Looks like we got 15-mile-an-hour wind. Alright, and once we get up to the runway, we're going to contact the tower on ATC as opposed to the ground that we got clearance for taxi. And we're going to get clearance to take off. So we're going to tap on the brakes here, come to a complete stop. We basically cut the throttle at this point and we're just rolling. Boom, see how that tail end comes up like that? Any faster we would have flipped over. So we're going to contact ATC now over at the tower. And we're going to request VFR from the takeoff clearance for VFR.
Tower Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra at runway tree 2 ready for departure. Departure to the south.
Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra hold short runway tree 2. Traffic is Airbus A20N on final.
Alright, so they're basically saying hold short, there's somebody coming in for a landing.
X-Ray Golf Sierra.
So Airbus A20N. There he is. Or no, that's not even him, but we do have somebody landing. Normally you would see it there. So busy airport today over at Nova Scotia. That's why you contact the tower and be safe there. If we pulled right out, we would have got hit.
Air Canada 869er Heavy, turn next taxiway.
See if there's anyone else coming. So as soon as he pulls off onto a taxiway, I think we might get clearance.
Air Canada 869er Heavy, exit runway when able.
We're going to go ahead and adjust our view on the inside while we're waiting. So nice airplane. You can look straight up in the top of the thing there. And this is like a locking mechanism to take that off. Don't want to do that in the air, obviously.
869er Heavy, exit runway when able.
Alright, hopefully they exit soon here. Looks like he's just sitting on the runway.
Air Canada 869er Heavy, exit runway when able.
Go ahead and get him to go off of the runway. probably take off regardless. We got complete clearance there. There's always somebody.
Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra wind tree 27 at 14.
There you go. We got clear for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff runway tree 2.
Because he just left. Awesome.
Cleared for takeoff runway tree 2 Robin X-ray.
Alright, so we are ready to go now. So we're going to increase our throttle a little bit, take off our parking brake. And we will line up to the runway here. We'll go full throttle. Tail lifts up. And we're checking our speedometer down here. Get above the white arc. And we are now liftoff. So we're going to go to the exterior mode here. I'm going to move my mic because I notice it's just turned away from me just a little bit. And yeah, we're going to kind of follow along our pre-planned flight path here. We're going in the opposite direction. And once we communicate with ATC here, alright, so we got south departure, but we're going north, so we're going to spin around here. This is going to be a very steep turn. We are in an aerobatic plane, so that's fine. We're going to get a good look at the tower here as we spin around. And then let's zoom out. I'm going to zoom out on our flight plan so that we're following along. And we're going to fly out to that river there. So basically, we're going to reduce our throttle here to probably about 82% there to maintain a nice slow and steady flight. So now if I let go, you'll notice that like the plane is pulling up a little bit. The thing you want to do is you want to adjust your trim down a little bit to kind of counteract that pull up. So your trim so I adjusted the trim down, and now we're going down a lot. So now we're going to adjust the trim back up to 1%, and now we're going up way too much. So we'll try -1, and you can always adjust the throttle too. So the throttle and the trim work hand in hand to achieve that level flight. So basically right now we are pretty good. We've got a nice little steady elevation change here, and this is
X-ray Golf Sierra, leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
Tower Robin Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra frequency change.
Alright, we're going to do a frequency change. And then we're also going to go to the right.
Approach Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is type Robin, kept 10.5 miles southeast of Halifax, 2,600 feet. Request flight following.
Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra approach. Squawk 7554.
Squawk 7554 Robin X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Robin X-Ray Golf Sierra radar contact 5 miles south of Halifax, 2,200 feet. Altimeter tree 0.25.
Roger, Robin X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Alright, so our flight plan has us taking us to downtown Halifax in Nova Scotia. And we're going to be flying over the Bedford Basin. That's the body of water that sits right on the city limits there. So we're going to get a nice close-up view of downtown Halifax, and then we're going to turn around and get ready for our departure. So this is pretty much like a free-flying plane, not too much to do with autopilot. I mean, I'm not even sure if it has autopilot capability. So this is all manual plane here. There's no G1000 or anything. G1000 is usually the first step up. So this is all manual plane. So you kind of get a good look out the window here. This is a good plane for sightseeing. So that right up there is the Bedford Basin, and Halifax downtown sits right over here. So we'll go ahead and get an exterior view here, get a close-up. We'll kind of drop down a little bit in elevation and kind of see what we get to see as we visit Nova Scotia. You just want to watch your speed there. Don't want to get into the red zone, so I'm reducing throttle as we dip down. And now that we're leveling out, we can increase our throttle a little bit so that we can maintain speed. So now we're basically just free flying. Get to go wherever we want to go. Sort of free as a bird. We're going to go ahead and check out this bridge that's over here. That looks like a bush talk radio. Apparently there was an explosion there over in Halifax. And we got another bridge, some roads. I'm almost wondering if some of those are train tracks, but I'm not certain. And then you got Fort George. Got a good little camera view of Fort George. I'm just holding steady here as we go. Looks like a big hotel or something there. Should we check out that island? Let's go ahead and check out the island. Oh, it looks like we got a football field there. Looks like the island just consists of a few houses. And we'll go ahead and check out this island and maybe that little one that's like right beyond it. And then we will turn around and head back towards the airport and take this thing in for a landing. This is a fun little plane to fly. Took a little bit of an adjustment. I was a little bit rusty with this plane, but overall it's pretty easy. Again, you just got to watch for the braking so that you don't flip over. It looks like there's one lonely house over here. Other than that, looks pretty uninhabited. Seems like a nice little island to take a boat out to and kind of camp out, have some lunch or something. Increase my throttle a little bit. We're getting slow. So beautiful part of the world over here in Nova Scotia. Definitely get some cold winters, that's for sure. This is a town called Shearwater. It looks like it has its own little runway system here with an airport. And this is Woodlawn. Alright, so as we head on back to the airport, what we're going to do, like right now, we're pretty much maintaining like 1,700 feet. on our flight plan, we know that the elevation of the runway sits at about 451 feet. So ideally what you want to do is be about 1,000 feet above that. Probably on this plane I would say about 3 miles out from the runway, and that'll give you a good look at the runway so that you can line up to it, make your descent nice and smooth. If you want to extend it out to 5 miles, it'll just give you that much more time in order to line up to the runway. But this plane is pretty reactive. I don't know if you can see here, but on the speedometer here on the exterior mode, there's this white line that goes out to about 85 miles or 85 knots and then stops. That's what's called the white arc. And if we go inside the plane here, you should be able to see it here. So it goes up to about 150, and that's the kilometers per hour. The knots are a little different scale, so it goes down to so you got kilometers and knots. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and select the nearest airport, and we're going to do, we're looking for CYHZ right here, and we're going to request a full stop landing.
Tower Robin Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is 1 mile south 2,500 feet with whiskey to land.
Robin Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Tower. Altimeter tree 0.25 wind tree 27 at 14. Fly straight in runway tree 2.
Flight straight in runway 32 Robin X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Alright, so they gave us the okay to fly in runway 32 straight in. We're gonna have to make a left-hand turn in order to achieve the straight in factor, and we're just gonna go ahead and make a right-hand turn to get back onto our flight path, but so that'll line us up about 5 miles outside of the runway where we'll make that left-hand turn. And once we hit that 85 knots, we'll deploy probably about half flaps. That'll help us slow down so that we're not going 180 knots. Alright, so somebody got clearance to take off on the runway that we're going to land on. So hopefully they don't give us a go around. Hopefully they clear the runway by the time we get there. So we are getting close to it though. So we're sitting a little high at 1,900 feet, so we're going to descend a little bit. I'm going to reduce the throttle. As we make our descent so that we don't go too fast. And we're going to look to bring our speed down to about 85 knots. And once we deploy our flaps, when we hit 85, we are going to introduce a little more throttle because the flaps will introduce more drag on the plane. And we don't want to stall it out. So there we are at 90 knots. call that close enough. We're going to introduce those flaps. We're going to increase our throttle. And we're looking to just maintain that speed at like within that white arc. So if we get too fast, we can pull up a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and start our turn. We're going to check ATC there to see if they were talking to us or not. They were not. We should be getting clearance for landing any moment. Hopefully that guy is off the runway. Gonna move over a little bit, so we drop down to 70 knots there. You just got to watch your speed here at this point. You don't want to go too fast or too slow, so it's a balance of holding the throttle and your pitch to control your speed. So when you pitch down, your speed is going to increase, so you want to reduce your throttle, and when you're pitching up, it's going to reduce your speed, so you want to increase your throttle.
Clear to land runway 32 Robin X-ray Golf Sierra.
Alright, so we got clear to land. We don't have the runway in sight just yet, but we will. Doing a speed check. We're at 90 knots, which is halfway decent. What we're going to do is when we get closer to the runway, we're basically going to cut the throttle and be in glide mode when we touch down. All I'm doing now is trying not to get into that stall rate, so as soon as I hit like 70 knots, like when I pull up here, my speed drops. And I won't be able to climb because the throttle is like pretty low. And when I pitch the nose back down, speed increases. So on a level flight here, my throttle is basically set to be at the top of that white arc. So if I need to pull up a little bit, so you would just add a little bit of throttle so that you can, you know, kind of rise up in that elevation thing without stalling out. And again, when you point your nose down towards the runway, you want to basically cut the throttle off so that you're in glide mode, because if you were still powered on, you'd be going like 150 knots hitting the runway. So that is why you kind of get a feel for your pitch and your throttle working together to achieve that speed that you're looking for. And this one, the runway is long enough for this plane. The runway is long enough for this plane that like we can hit it at 100 knots and it'll be fine, but the thing where that comes into play is when you're landing on a short runway and you have to hit it at a slow speed so that you can slow down in time. Alright, we got flare 131. That was asked to hold short. Let's see if they actually do. And then they also gave somebody clearance to land right after this. It's a busy airport here over in Halifax. So see how the speed is increasing because we're pitching down, so I'm going to reduce the throttle a little bit to try to control our speed here. And we're pretty much just cut the throttle off at this point. So we're in basically idle and we're just a glider and we are just floating down. We got two planes there waiting for us. And we're just going to pitch up the nose and just let the ground touch. We're in no rush. It's going to be a bouncy airplane here because it's super light. See that? Just touch the ground and go. Alright, and it's at this point that you do not want to hit the brakes because the back of the thing is not even on the ground yet. So we hit the brakes, that tail end will flip over on us. So we're just going to let that naturally, as we slow down, it'll bring down and touch the ground. There you go, we are on there. So we are going to exit the runway here. Alright, and then we will contact ground for taxi clearance.
121.9er Robin X-ray Golf Sierra. Goodbye.
Robin Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to general aviation parking via taxiway Foxtrot Golf Delta 1 Alpha.
And we'll acknowledge the traffic. Or we don't need them to say it again.
Robin X-ray Golf Sierra, say again.
Alright, so we'll taxi over to general aviation parking. Basically where we were, and I think ATC
X-ray Golf Sierra, say again.
got locked up here on us. So we'll just go ahead and turn that off. This is all the gate parking for the bigger planes. So we're gonna go to general aviation. I'm usually not a huge fan of these super light planes, but they are fun to fly every once in a while. We're gonna take this little dip. Alright, so this is the same area that we took off from. So we're going to go ahead and just pull in here. And we will find a parking spot right over here. Watch that tail end kick up again. Go back into the cockpit and we'll set our brake here. Get us to stop rolling. We're going to pull out our throttle is 100% there. So in order to shut this thing down, we basically just turn our key all the way over to the left there and everything gets shut down. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Wasn't the smoothest demonstration of the Robin Cap 10, but it'll do. I don't fly this plane too often, but you get the general idea of how to start it up. It's more of a fun plane, so no ATC, or no autopilot, no flight plan, interior, you got to do all that exterior, and but yeah, I mean, it's a good little fun plane to fly if you want to go sightseeing. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next one as we got a good look at Nova Scotia. It's a nice area to fly in. Check it out if you haven't.